My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life. Dan, it's another month and we get to award another Quality of Life Nurse Award. Why don't you tell us about this month's recipient?
Well, our winner for August is Diane Fan from North Memorial Medical Center. She was nominated by a prior winner of ours, and she is a younger RN that in the nomination, they actually said, she hasn't really been recognized for a lot of the things that she's done a really good job with. And so we thought she would be an excellent recipient for our Quality of Life Nurse Award. We are very excited to have a conversation with her.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Congratulations on being our August Quality of Life Nurse Award recipient.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you were nominated by one of your coworkers. You were nominated by Molly,
Yeah.
and she is a past winner, but she gave you a very glowing nomination. So we went through and selected you, and you end up getting a cash award of $500 for this award. So congratulations on that. And then we just usually ask you a few questions. So, from the nomination, you're a younger RN.
Yeah.
Molly talked about how you're doing a great job handling like the most stressful situations with, a lot of grace and, being able to do that without kind of changing temperament, things like that. Why don't you talk a little bit about your journey as a nurse, how you got started, and how you handle some of those environments that are really difficult for nurses?
Yeah, for sure. I would say before like my nursing journey, I actually did work as a nursing assistant um, at at the same hospital, North Memorial, on the same unit for at least 5 years or so. And since then, I got the inspiration of like wanting to become a nurse because of my coworkers, pretty much. I've seen the way that they've taken care of like their patients and how they care so much and provide that great care, and I just know that I want to be like them too, and providing like that same love and care like to our patients. And so then I went to nursing school, and then I've been a nurse for about 2 years now, which is crazy to think that it feels like I'm still like a baby nurse, but I still have a long way to go to get there. I will say that my experience as a nursing assistant really truly like helped me shape of the type of nurse that I want to be, and how I want to like care for the patients. So for example, like not every shift is perfect. There's going to be really good days and there's going to be really hard days. I would say that on like the really tough days where you may have like patients that can be a challenge, whether it's, behavioral or anything like that. And I would say that when I worked as a nursing assistant and then watching my nurses, how they handle that situation, I also take that into consideration as well and be like, okay, so I've seen them do, this before and like how to like handle it. And I'm like, okay, then it's like seeing and experiencing it and like doing it, which I'm like, okay, then like this is how I would do it too. Um, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. So then when you talk about, seeing and learning by example,
Yeah,
how
for sure.
important do you think, as far as like having a good mentor, having that more experienced nurse who then you can lean on a little bit to maybe deal with some of the more unusual situations?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's definitely helpful. I've had a lot of great mentors that have guided me through and like just like teaching me as well, like as a brand new nurse, of like how do I handle these certain situations, and in certain situation where it might be like unsafe for whatever reason, like always reaching out for help. I do think that speaking up about things and like just asking for help is really important, because I noticed that like in this job as a nurse, like you're never really like alone, you know? Like definitely like teamwork is really important, and that I know that if I ever need help that I can always like ask someone or like come to my charge nurse like for help.
And so, you even talk about like the uncertainty of, we'll hear nurses talk about being unsafe. There are situations that you get put into that are, I think the average person doesn't understand what nurses go through. Are there any situations you'd be willing to talk about where you just thought, hey, this was really tough?
Yeah, it was actually earlier this week when I was at work. I had this patient that I guess I won't really go too far into details. But I had this patient where she came in for like low sodiums. That's kind of the main reason why she came to the hospital. And she really wanted to leave AMA. And I had to explain to her. And of course, with any type of patient that wants to like leave AMA, we kind of have to like, cover our bases and explain to the patient about like, hey, like it's not necessarily a good idea, and here's are the reasons why, and that like if you were to leave without getting your full treatment, um like things could happen, like the patient could potentially like die or something, you know so it's more of just trying to like really explain to them like, hey, like no one likes to be in the hospital, and but this is the type of care that you need in order for you to be safe. And there's just some people that truly just don't like going to the hospital, and they don't doctor, but they're there because they almost had a life threatening thing. So I did, explain to this patient, and sometimes she was really like adamant about it, of wanting to leaving. So then I just, I had to like page the doctor. I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and like talk. If you want to speak with the doctor, and then maybe if you want like a second opinion, and I also asked my charge nurse too about like, hey, this patient is wanting to leave, and I truly just don't think it is a good idea. So then eventually, after talking her of like staying to at least enough where she is safely to go home, she eventually did stay. So that was a success. Yeah.
So one question, and thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
One question I do want to ask is, when it comes to other nurses, if you were to give them advice on improving the quality of life of others, what advice would you provide?
To improve the quality of life. Education is really important. So I would say to improve the quality of life, for example, like for patients necessarily, I truly feel like educating them in terms of like what medications they're taking. I've also noticed that a lot of patients that I've had, they'll be on a bunch of medications, but they don't even know why they're taking it. And then they just assume like, oh, like this isn't important, or like I don't need this blood pressure medication. So then they'd end up not taking it, and then they get a stroke, from for high blood pressure, not taking their medication, and then they come back to like the hospital. I truly believe that like patient education is very important. Like, why are we taking your medication? Do you know why you're here, in terms of like, for example, if they have like a kidney issue, like try to like really explain to them in like simple terms so that they understand of like, okay, so like this is what's going on like in your body. This is what's happening. I think education is really important in order for them to understand like, okay, if I'm compliant and I'll do all these things, you know, um, their health may not go downhill so fast.
That makes sense.
Uh,
Well, we appreciate you taking some time to share part of your story with us, and congratulations again on being our August Quality of Life Nurse Award winner.
awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
You are welcome. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you. You too.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.